This right here is a Tunacado. It's a tuna, avocado and tomato toasted sandwich with basil pesto and a homemade mayonnaise. It's been doing its rounds on the internet, so let's see what all the fuss is about.
We'll start this off by making our mayonnaise. So in a tall jar or container, crack in 1 whole egg, add in 1 teaspoon or 10 grams of Dijon mustard or American or yellow mustard, 3 teaspoons or 15 milliliters of white distilled vinegar, and 150 milliliters of any neutral flavored oil. I'm using sunflower oil for this. Blend this up on a high speed using an immersion blender until everything's emulsified and come together. This right here is our basic mayonnaise, and you can leave it like that or you can just make it a little bit extra tasty by adding in about 10 grams of fresh dill and 10 grams of flat leaf parsley, as well as some salt and cracked black pepper. 10 cracks worth. Also, you may have seen this mayonnaise be made before on the channel. This is one of my favorite mayonnaises and it goes with everything. If you have added in the fresh herbs, just blend it up again, make sure everything's combined. It should be a light green color. This can then be stored in the fridge until we're ready to serve. As well as the herby mayo, we're making basil pesto. In a blender, add 1 clove of garlic, 5 grams or 0.2 ounces of Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. Hopefully yours doesn't break and fall apart like mine did. 5 grams or 0.2 ounces of pine nuts. I know they can be expensive. You can use cashews, almonds, peanuts, walnuts, or if you're allergic, just leave them out. And with that done, we can place the lid on and blend this up on a high speed to break down those nuts, combine all of those ingredients, and you only need to do this for about 20 seconds. When that's done, we can turn this off and we're going to add in the basil. I ended up using half a bunch here. It's just the leaves picked off the stem. I added a couple of different stems in there as well for a bit of an infusion. They had a really nice pop of flavor. And the weight of that is about 25 grams or 0.8 ounces. Along with the basil, also add in about 3 tablespoons or 60 milliliters of extra virgin olive oil or regular olive oil to get things moving. I'm also using 1/4 of a lemon that's just been juiced just for a little bit of acidity. You can also add some zest in there if you wanted to, or even more juice. The taste is completely up to you. Don't forget to season to taste with sea salt flakes and cracked black pepper. 10 cracks worth. Then we can place the lid back on and blend this over a high speed to break everything down. If you don't have a blender, this can be done in a mortar and pestle, which it's traditionally made in. Then to adjust the consistency, slowly pour in enough extra virgin olive oil until the pesto reaches a pourable but thick paste, and we want this to be a little bit more runny than a usual basil pesto, but not extremely runny where it doesn't even spread. Once you have that done, you can either leave it in the blender bowl to save dishes or transfer over to a small bowl and place this in the fridge with the herby mayo until we're ready to serve. Now for the tuna mix, we're going to need half a red onion. Slice this in half, save the other half for another recipe, and dice this into small to medium sized pieces. The smaller the better for this because we don't want any large chunky bits. And be sure to trim off any excess flesh from around the root to avoid wastage. Transfer this over to a bowl. Then we need 3 cornichons or 1 slice of dill pickle. These are also going to be diced. This one's going to be very finely diced, so slice these into strips, rotate them 90 degrees and get that small fine dice. Next is 5 grams or 0.2 ounces of flat leaf parsley. Scrunch this up to make it easier to chop. Roughly chop it so there's no large leaves and stems. Add it into the bowl. Then we can open up our can of tuna. This right here is about 425 grams of tuna in spring water. You can also use tuna in olive oil, but we are going to drain this off. Don't need to rinse it or anything like that because you will wash most of the flavor off. Then add this to the bowl with all of the other ingredients. To this now, add in 10 grams or 2 teaspoons of American or yellow mustard for a nice little tang. We are then going to add most of the herby mayo into the mix. Just save a little bit behind so we can spread it on our bread. Season to taste with salt and cracked black pepper. 10 cracks worth. Then mix all of this together. Break up the tuna so there's no large chunks. Make sure that mayo and all of the ingredients are mixed through well. You should have something that looks like this. They're going to be popped aside for the time being. The rest of the ingredients are super simple. What I have here is 1 avocado. You can use 2, depends on how much you like avocado. Open it up, remove the seed. Then I'm peeling this by hand because I want to keep it extremely smooth. You can use a spoon to get it out. And then I'm going to thinly slice this the whole way across, making thin, even slices. Then you can gently push it down with the palm of your hand, spread it out, and it creates that nice fan. Everything is even and consistent. I used 2 tomatoes for this recipe, but I do only recommend using 1 because I did have a little bit too much. Thinly slice them the same way we did with the avocado. You can leave them like this, or you can slice them into quarters, which is what I did. The bread can be any of your choice. I recommend a nice flat loaf. I'm using ciabatta for this. It just toasts really well, gets that nice crunch. Focaccia also works really well. It is optional, but lather these up with butter, both sides, even the top and the bottom. It does depend on how you're going to toast these, if you are going to toast them at all. I like to do it in a dry pan over medium heat. Toast these for a couple of minutes on both sides, get that nice golden crust. But you can also just put these into a toaster or even into the oven under the grill or broiler. You also don't have to toast it at all, you can just have these fresh. Once you have it toasted or fresh, whichever way you chose to serve it, spread herby mayo on one side as well as basil pesto on the other. And if there is one of these things that you don't like, they're both interchangeable. You can just use only mayo or only pesto, or you can combine the two like what I did here. When the spreads are on, add the tuna down. I do recommend adding in quite a bit here. It does fill out the sandwich quite nicely, and of course it's called a tunacado. Add over the avocado and the tomato. Like I said, when cutting the tomato, I found 2 was too much, but the amounts are completely up to you. Make sure you season with sea salt flakes and cracked black pepper. I'm also adding a bit of my favorite hot sauce, which is Cholula. Then we can place that top bun over the top, push it down a little bit to compress, and of course, cut through that crunchy bread to reveal the center. And that right there, my beautiful people, is a tunacado that does look absolutely incredible.
So we have everything done. There is only one thing left to do though, and that is of course we can then dig in. So I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. I'm really impressed. This is a delicious sandwich and I recommend you make it. Thanks for watching.